kids, did you ever try to build makeshift rockets out of cardboard and whatnot, or was that just me? So when I heard about a movie about kids building spaceships, you best believe I was going to find it and watch it. But unfortunately, not all films are what you expect them to be. There are some movies that become classics the moment they hit theaters, and then there are other movies like Explorers that have the best of intentions and even some really good ideas, but the execution just leaves you wanting more. Like, there's something lacking. And even though the film did find its audience through home videos that was missing in the theaters, there was still so much scope for improvement. So back in 2014, when we got the news that Paramount Pictures was planning to remake the 1985 sci-fi film, most of us were really excited. There's always films that you should never touch or even dare to remake, you know? Because they're just that good and it's simply unnecessary. Like, I can't imagine anyone even trying to remake Psycho because obviously it'll never be better than the original. But with Explorers, you actually have so much space, pun intended, to do better and to even do justice to the original concept. And the project did generate a whole mix of emotions, including excitement, curiosity, and even controversy for that matter. But then, poof, it just disappeared into oblivion. 12 years and not a single announcement or update. So what exactly happened to the Explorers remake? Who was making it? What would the story have looked like? Why has there still been no release date after all these years? Today, we're diving into everything we know, and hopefully by the end, we'll uncover the mystery of its disappearance. Legacy of the original film. Before we talk about the remake, let's take a quick look back to the original film and why it even mattered in the first place. You see, back in 1985, Joe Dante brought Explorers to the big screen and introduced the world to two future stars, Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. And remember guys, he was taking on this project right after directing Gremlins, so he was hot off the press. The storyline followed three ordinary kids, Ben, Wolfgang, and Darren, who managed to build a homemade spacecraft all in their backyard and venture into outer space, even discovering alien life and so much more. It was conceptualized as this mix of a coming of age and science fiction and childhood imagination and wonder come to life, but unfortunately, most critics described it as flawed but absolutely fascinating. When released, it was far from being a box office success and struggled. It did eventually become a cult favorite over the years with home videos, and fans embraced its quirks and flaws. And I will say that the movie had an incredible and legendary team behind it, including special effects by Industrial Light and Magic, and creature makeup by Rob Bottin. But Joe Dante eventually opened up about the production problems he faced behind the scenes. He confessed that he never really got to finish the film the way he intended. There was a super rush production schedule, and the biggest problem was with the third act. Joe Dante said, "The funny thing about it is that when I was first given the script, I liked what I read, but didn't feel that there was a third act. At the end, when the kids went to the planet, they go and play baseball. That was the plot. It seemed that wasn't quite enough. And since Paramount had moved up the release date, Joe Dante had to stop editing and just prepare for release. In Dante's own words, they said, just stop editing the picture, we're gonna put it out. And that completely explains why we as an audience also felt that unevenness in the final act. But of course, it reached cult status, and that's probably the major reason why a remake was even considered in the first place. What the remake was, and who were making it. So what exactly was the plan for the remake? Well, firstly, around March 14th, we started hearing the news that Paramount Pictures was officially developing a remake of Explorers. It was being developed under Paramount Pictures' specialty low-budget arm, Insurge Pictures. So they weren't just throwing insane amounts of money at the project, but taking a more modest and grounded approach. They hired the screenwriting duo of Geoff Moore and Dave Passamentier, who were known for writing and directing the dark comedy Better Living Through Chemistry. Then on the production side of things, the studio brought in Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec, who were behind Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and Life on Mars television series. And almost immediately after the announcement, there was this whole debate regarding whether it was a good idea to even touch an 80s movie that became a cult classic. Of course, many were hoping for a film that would actually realize Dante's potential and premise. What could the story have been? Now, Paramount gave us practically no information whatsoever about anything, really, including the plot synopsis, which was kept tightly under wraps. However, we can infer a lot about where the narrative was heading based on the original blueprint and early insider leaks. Of course, everyone assumed that the project will draw inspiration from the core premise of the OG film. So three young and imaginative kids trying to find their place in the world. A homemade spacecraft and a journey into the beyond, maybe with some modern takes on aliens here and there. And then there were reports that claimed the film would be a little more like Welcome to Yesterday, which was later released as Project Almanac, which was found footage time travel sci-fi. So we were suddenly looking at a more modern found footage inspired approach aimed at younger audiences. And these are all interesting ideas, right? Like, I would have loved to see this stuff pan out with a good director who gets the time they need to carry out the project from start to finish. Especially how they may have tried to solve the biggest criticism of the original, which was a third act that never fully delivered. But nope. And this is where we get into the real conversation: the mysterious disappearance of the project.
I don't see any. Come on, get back in here.
Lost in development hell. What happened to the remake? Okay, so what the hell happened? Ever since the initial announcement, there has been nothing. Literally nothing, nada. No director, no executive producer lineup, no cast announcements. Forget about production schedule or filming dates. We didn't hear anything after the writing duo announcement, and the internet was left super confused, obviously. It's now 2026, and years have passed and we still don't have a finalized script announcement, a casting rollout, or anything really. So why did the movie just vanish off the face of the earth? Well, there's actually quite a few reasons, especially surrounding the Hollywood landscape around 2015. Of course, these are entirely speculative and no reason was given. But let's go into it nonetheless. Firstly, the specialized branch that was behind the film, aka Paramount's micro-budget division, Insurge Pictures, was soon dismantled and absorbed by the parent company just a single year after the remake was announced. And usually when something like this happens, all the unproduced projects almost always go down with the ship. We all know the countless films and even cartoon shows this has happened to. And at this exact same time, Paramount also drastically shifted its whole corporate strategy. It began pouring all its money and resources into these massive billion-dollar franchises, like Transformers and Mission Impossible. So obviously there was nothing left for the smaller mid-budget sci-fi ideas, which eventually just faded away into limbo. And then they went for Project Almanac first, which had a similar tone, and it definitely didn't get the reception they were hoping for, so we can imagine they got cold feet about future sci-fi projects. So with all that together, the film just remains stuck in development hell. And we won't even speak about release dates because there are none, and chances are there won't ever be. If there's even like a 0.0001% chance of the film being made, it'll be 2 to 3 years of casting and filming and post-production before it sees the light of day. And given how the project fizzled out, I don't think anyone will ever take the chance or risk on recreating Explorers. And if you ask me, I did really love the idea of a remake, because there was definitely more that could have been done with the vision and the film, and it seemed like an exciting idea, but it's just been too long. Too much time has passed since the original, and there's something nostalgic and irreplaceable about watching a young River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke pouring their hearts into a film that felt like a childhood dream coming to life. But what do you think? Do you want to see a modern take on the Thunder Road spaceship? Or should Hollywood just learn to leave cult classics alone? Drop your theories and your favorite memories of the original movie in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe for more movie updates, and we'll see you on the next adventure. Bye bye!